essentially followed through with the president's request, but his deputy who warned him against doing so.
Well, his deputy, Louis Lukens, who's a career diplomat and a former ambassador himself to Senegal.
Thank you very much. And now I can go into screen sharing. Where's that little presentation? There it is. Nice. All right. All right. Well, I've got you all on mute, and for your own good behavior, that's going to happen. I always like to start my class with a little bit of Robin Williams. Good morning, Vietnam! Okay, all right. I got it out. I'm ready. I'm ready. Da-dang, 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 da-dang. All right, so welcome everyone. And for those of you that's going to be joining us on the archive, my name is Professor Michael Taylor. I am your week 3 Zoom session professor. And we've already started. So welcome. I know some of you are in my section, others are not. And so we're going to talk this week about social intelligence. For those of you that have any issues with my virtual background, Alabama Roll Tide, although my son played at Arkansas, so maybe next time I'll put up the Razorbacks, okay? All right, so social intelligence, right? Success attained without this intelligence is not true mastery, right? And will not be lost. One of the things I really want to stress in this section is we all know what social intelligence is, right? It's everything that we've been doing, right? We've been doing it in elementary school, middle school, high school, our first job, and for many of us now in our careers, right? It's the ins and outs of, you know, how we navigate, you know, the environment. So for many of you who are in doing Full Sail, there's particularly ones that are on campus full time. So you're doing a little bit of that social intelligence in terms of, you know, the interaction. Now, mind you, I know that everything that was on campus has now moved to online, but still we have some of that stuff, you know, going on. So social intelligence is the ability to see people in the most realistic light possible, the ability to read people. We need to learn to focus deeply on others to understand their motivation. It's just what we do for survival, right? Because when it's like, you know, it's like that first day of high school. I remember my first day of high school, you know, everything is new. I don't know these people. I'm a freshman. And maybe there's a couple of guys or gals that came from the same middle school, but it starts all over again. You know, who are we going to be buddies with? We're going to be here for 4 years probably. And so it's just understanding, you know, who are the people that we're going to become close with? Who are the people that we're going to kind of like, I'm not going to, you know. And so we're using our intuitive sense for, you know, navigating the terrain, which to many of us at this point is relatively new, okay? So we're going to work with this and try to figure out, you know, how we best interact with one another. You know, how do you feel? How do you deal with real people, right? So chapter 4 in the book, pages 146 to 166 for the discussion board. We must look at the introverted traits and extroverted traits. As you well know, some people like me, when I'm in the class, let me give you a quick example. I remember when I was in graduate school in engineering. And so I walked in the class. In graduate school, there's never a lot of students, particularly in engineering. There's like maybe 8 to 10 students in the class. So I walked in the class. I was so happy to be there. And as I walked in the class, I need to give you a little bit to bring this point home. I walked in the class, and there is 4 Chinese students from mainland China that are in the graduate program. They're on their way to PhD, but they got to do the master's and stuff like that. And all 4 of them smiled and said, "Hi, Michael." And so the other students were like, "Who is this guy?" You know, you got 4 Chinese international students that speak very little English, and they're all waving at him. Who is this guy, you know? The second coming of John the Baptist? No. But what they don't know is that a few days early, I met him, and they were new, and we became friends, and da-da-da-da-da. So when I showed up in the class, they were like, "Oh, somebody that we knew." a few months later, one of the guys who became a good friend of mine, so we used to study together, he said to me, he said, when you walked into class that day, I thought you were the class clown. I said, well, why would you think that? He says, because everybody started, saying hi to you and you had this big smile on your face. He said, I figured out that you weren't the class clown when we took our first exam. He said, I got a 67 and you got an 89. He said, that told me right there that you weren't the class clown because you did better than me. I said, well, that's what happens when you make assumptions, So anyways, I just thought I'd share that because, again, that's part of how we react to one another, right? When we don't know. Because I was bubbly and stuff like that, he just thought that. All right, so general knowledge, 7 deadly sins, right? These are the negative qualities often disguised from view. They're often shown in some action that blindsides us, possibly harms us. So it's important to be aware and know how to read and to apply various tactics to avoid them, okay? So the first one we're gonna talk about is envy, right? It's our nature to constantly, compare ourselves to others, right? Don't get caught up in the comparison trap, be wary of people, who praise too much or overly friendly in the beginning of a relationship with you. They might be trying to get close enough, to hurt you in the end. At least the book tends to, it intimates that, right? So, when dealing with envy and others, be sure to show interest in them and their interests. Please don't try to brag, about things that you're accomplishing during your journey. This is when you're on your journey, okay, to mastery. You have got to be aware because everybody's not gonna be excited about you, right? Everybody's not gonna be, well, you seem to, have the appropriate background, people, right? So there's gonna be some of that. You just gotta know how to tamp it down. The best way to deal with envy is show interest in others, right? Yeah, so how you doing? What? And for us older folks, we talk about family and stuff like that. I always try to talk about my kids. I find when I talk about my kids, it kind of takes the edge off, and because if they have kids, they start to talk about their kids, right? And they light up and, man, right there, you have a friend for life, right? So the next one is conformism, right? Should you wait until you gain mastery to let your individuality shine through? Well, yes and no. You must be true to yourself, right? At the end of the day, you got to be true to yourself. You need, we're not robots, right? But, you got to, in some professions, there has to be conform, you have to conform, right? If you're a young orthopedic surgeon in training, you've got to, I guess if you come in with a lot of pretty hair like this young lady has here, some of your patients may question you. So you got to be careful in displaying your difference while you're in the apprentice phase, because that's when people could hurt you, all right? And so let your work at this point speak for itself. It's actually like going back to my example, right? Only after we had the first test in this advanced math course, right? So just think about it. We're all engineers, right? Most of us, we're engineers. We've come through engineering. When you come through engineering, we have gone through at least differential equations 1 and 2, right? But then when you get to graduate school, I was like, another math class, another advanced calculus class. What could be advanced than that, right? And then they give us this big old book and it says Bessel's equations. I was like, oh no, right? It's calculus, on steroids, right? So, so people make, like I said, the guy, he became a good friend of mine. He made an assumption, right? But I wasn't going to conform to anybody. I mean, I'm from the islands. We don't conform to nobody. We're happy people, right? So we just do our thing. So he got to realize that, like I said, we had a great, great, great friendship. Rigidity, that's the way we've always done it. In every setting, every of your different environments, you're going to run into, some people. It's like, and it's always the people who've been there for 50 years, right? This is the way we always done it. And particularly those are the ones that don't have a whole lot of creativity. You know, they just, it's like, well, I've been here for 30 years. Yeah, 1 year, 30 times, right? So people who lack vision or are set in their ways, it can be good in some situations, such as a doctor, but be more creative atmosphere, it can be an issue, right? You have got to figure that out. One good example is, I remember my first year in business school. We have, one of the things we do in business school at these big hoity-toity schools, you know, is that all throughout the fall, we are wined and dined by every corporation in America, you know, and some spend more money than others, the big ones. And I remember on campus, we went to our first thing, and I don't remember who the company was, but one of my friends, he was a year ahead of me, showed up, and he had all these pretty colors on. And I was like, why do you wear all these colors, right? And he had a great person, he was a great guy. But guess what? He was going into advertising. That was his shtick. He was an advertiser. So the loud colors that he wore, for Goldman Sachs, that wouldn't fly. That wouldn't be too good. Or for McKinsey, that wouldn't be very good. But for the advertising firm, I forgot the name of the one that he had signed with in Chicago, that was very appropriate, because when you go to the advertising companies, they all look like that, right? But when you go to interview with McKinsey, right, or Goldman Sachs, now my classmates who ended up going to work for Goldman Sachs, and they had, you know, Hugo Boss. I mean, they look like mannequins, well dressed though, right? And so you kind of learn what the different things are, but you can't go in there looking like you're going to work for an advertising firm, wearing those kinds of colors and going to interview with Goldman Sachs, because the people at Goldman Sachs don't wear that, right? Self-obsessiveness, it's not all about you, right? When it's time to ask for help from someone that exhibits this quality, appeal to their self-interest in some way, right? This is really how you should interact with anyone, acknowledge their interest and how helping you can also benefit them, right? You're gonna meet people like that. And again, remember I talked about when I first started, we all kind of know, right? We meet those people and it's like they go on and on and on and on about how great they are, right? They're self-absorbed. You will figure them out and find, you know, how best to deal with them, okay? Laziness. We all have a tendency to want to take the quickest, easiest path to our goals, but how do we manage this, right? So one of the ways that you can manage this is, once you realize these individuals, understand that they may not always deliver and may not deliver the quality that you might be looking for. We live in a time of instant gratification. One of the things I see as somebody in education in the various courses that I teach, but sometimes I see it on our discussion board. I'll see my students, well, either they're behind or they got something else going on, and in the discussion board they'll put something very pithy, yeah, blah, 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 right? 2 sentences. Well, I hate to judge them as being lazy, but it might be a lazy act, right? When you're doing work, for a superior in your journey, your hard work might end up being used, okay? And you might feel some kind of way. I have firsthand experience with this, because I remember in 1996, I was a newly minted vice president in the phone company in our corporate strategy office. And my boss, who was a little higher ranking VP than I was, he gave me my first assignment. He says, Michael, we got about 12 weeks, maybe not 12 weeks, but six weeks or so, we got to present this to the board, right? So not the board, the executive team. And so I'm rushing around, pulling all this stuff together, nice slide deck. And when we were done, my boss was going to meet with the CEO, the chairman, and the executive team. And he told me that, I wasn't going. And I was like, well, why not? I did all the work. But that's kind of that's kind of the control, And so he went on and presented my work and came back and said, hey, it went well. Well, I wasn't too thrilled by that, but it happens, right? So people will use your work. Flightiness. Why is it important to focus on other actions and not their words? Do you do what you say that you say you will? Don't promise more than you can deliver. Go above and beyond what's expected. People around you can change their mind in an hour. Okay. Again, you always have to cover yourself, right? Have a backup plan. Be in touch with folks. Make sure that they're really stepping up to the bar. I remember, again, another issue. Like I said, we could all look in instances in our lives and understand that, people, some of our people, and it's not a showstopper, but it's kind of nice to, when you see it, that you can call it out. I remember when I was in business school, 5 guys got together in one of our classes, and we were going to do a blow up analysis of Federal Express. And one of my good friends, first time we met, one of my good friends from from London, he said, okay, he says, I'm familiar with this company. I'm going to do a write up on them. And we got together, and he had this little blurb about about Federal Express in our first meeting. And I had reams of paper of stuff that I was supposed to pull together and other people. And I was not having it. I lit into him. I told him, I said, that's not good enough. Okay. I said, Federal Express is a huge corporation. There's tons of stuff about Federal Express. I said, heck, I got stuff about Federal Express that you could have wrote about. But this little paragraph, he looked like he went and got some stuff off. You know how the website, when you click on Google and it pulls it up, whatever it prints on the right-hand side, he just copied that and brought that to the thing. I was like, that's not gonna fly. We don't roll like that, Let me tell you how that echoed that down the road. He straightened up. The team got their act together. He went around campus telling people, he didn't go willingly give it to them, but if he found out that people were teaming with me on an assignment, he gave me the biggest praise anybody's ever given me. He was like, when you work with Michael Taylor, you better be on top of things because he is sharp. Thank you, I like that. He will demand that you give your best. I am ultra competitive. People talk about Michael Jordan being competitive. They used to call me hyper competitive because I want to win and I want to put the best work forward. Okay. Remember, we all come to these environments with our own issues, right? So, and we have to work through them. For a long time, people have been telling me I don't measure up, right? I'm not good enough. Remember, I'm a poor boy from the Caribbean. So I'm not, here I am at this very pricey, richy school with everybody who, I had classmates that were selling stock to pay tuition. Selling stock, I don't even own a stock, right? So, that's the environment that you're in. Everybody is coming from someplace, most of them, and you're thrust into this environment. So you kind of feel, like you're a commoner, amongst all these rich, privileged kids. So my whole thing was I'm competitive, right? And so I want to prove every day that I'm worthy of being here. And so that they used to get some of that like we say in the islands, that was a little bit of my hot sauce, right? I wanted to win at everything. Besides, when I was growing up in the Caribbean, I was an excellent soccer player. My friends tell me, they said, had I stayed, my parents left me in the islands, I probably would have gone to Europe to play pro ball. But that's where my competitiveness comes from. My brother was a national team player, and I was used to following his footsteps, and always wanted to win. And so we used to see a lot of that, right? So be prepared for those people that will be kind of change your heart. The way they'll flip flop on you. You've got to be careful. All right, we're gonna talk about passive aggression. And number 7, the root cause of all passive aggression is human fear of direct confrontation. Some people would rather hit you, with subtle jabs instead of being straightforward with you. Some example could be that they're always late, avoid you, procrastination, and sabotage your work. Okay. Again, these are things that's going to happen. One of the things that we all talked about in particularly in a corporation, whether it's profit or not profit, it's kind of dog eat dog, right? So everybody's trying to one up spending because people want to get promoted and and want to get a bigger pay raise and the whole 9 yards. And my experience in corporate America, it was a zero-sum game. The better performers got the lion's share of the the pay increase, right? So if there was a 10% effect net pay increase, and depending on how many people, right, it was a cascading effect, right? So the best performer probably got 5%, and then everybody else, depending on how big the budget was, right? So just understand that there's going to be a lot of people, and they'll come at you differently, but you just got to be ready to deal with that. Okay. All right. So I'm moving rather fast here, I've noticed. It's 11:20. So we're going to talk about the assignments for this week. Okay. We got the discussion board. We've got the journal entry number 2, which is going to build on your Adobe Spark from last week. And we got the brainstorming worksheet. So let's sort of walk through those a little bit. For the discussion board that many of you probably already started writing and going to finish up by tonight, you're going to watch the video presentation, Do What You Love by Tom Kelly. And I'm not going to read too much more of this, but at this point, many of you understand what we need to do in terms of the discussion board. The one thing I do, well, when I get to that, but I want to talk a little bit about Do What You Love. I want to share an example of that. So delivery dates tonight, right? And then before I get to that, I want to go back to this because I always like to give examples of some of these things because I think it sort of brings it home. When people say do what you love, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, I want to give you, and if you think it's your calling, it's your life's task. As I might have mentioned, so you may not remember this, but my oldest son is a football player, and he's under contract with the Storm, the Sioux Falls Storm, and like all of that got canceled this year. So he, the day before, 2 days before he was to play his first professional game, they called the season. Now, the reason why I'm using my son as an example about do what you love, he didn't get drafted and he didn't sign as a free agent with any of the NFL teams, but a lot of his teammates did, right? He's got teammates that play for Denver. He's got teammates that play for New England. He's got teammates, but one of his Minnesota Vikings, one of his best friends plays for Minnesota Vikings, and another good buddy of his, number 57, I think it was, for the San Francisco 49ers, who was in the Super Bowl. The reason why I'm telling you this story is that he was talking right before the Super Bowl, and they talk all the time, and he was talking to his former teammate from Arkansas, and he said to my son, he says, a lot of our teammates who didn't get drafted, I didn't sign, many of them are quitting and moving on with the rest of their lives. He says, I thought we loved this game. I thought, he said, if we love this game, why are these guys quitting just because they didn't get into the league in their first year? And my son said to him, he says, I'm not quitting. He said, I'm in the gym every day. I'm working, I'm training. He says, I've changed my body. My body fat has gone from 15% now down to about 7%. He said, I'm always in the gym working, getting stronger. And I have a bird's eye view of this because, he's home with me. So I have to feed him, right? Which is a challenge, right? Number one, because he eats all the time. He's 256 pounds, right? So he's not a small guy. He's a defensive end. But the point about his love for the game is that he gets up every day and he packs his stuff. He goes to the gym. He does his protein. He does this. He does that. And he's so focused on when that phone rings and my agent says, be on the plane and be in California or Dallas or wherever, I got to be ready. And the whole diet changing thing, I've watched this kid go from eating the packs of oatmeal with a little sugar in it, so now he wants the raw oatmeal with hot water and a few blueberries. And I was like, this ain't the same child I used to know. but he's focused. And he's focused because that one day, if it's meant to be, he is going to get an opportunity to run out on the field in an NFL uniform. And that is the day that he's going to look to the people around him closest to him, and he's going to say, this is what it was all about. I don't care if I ever run out onto another field, but to run out onto a field with that jersey that has an NFL insignia, that's what it is for him. It's not work. So all the stuff that he's putting in now, right? Going to the gym sometimes twice a day because he didn't get something right. You know, everybody, when I go to the gym, because we remember the same gym, people tell me, say, oh, he's looking good, Mr. T, he's looking good. That's what Tom Kelly was talking about. Doing what you love. You do that, you'll never work a day in your life. Okay? I like to think I have a little bit of that going on because I enjoy teaching. I enjoy coaching, right? So when I get on here and I'm animated and I'm loud and stuff like that, I'm in my element, right? When my students call me and say they got a problem, I jump up, I jump on it. That's what I do. And I want you to have the same passion about what you're getting ready to embark on if you're not already there, okay? All right, so that's the discussion board. I wanted to share that with you, all right? So the brainstorming and research worksheet, right? You'll conduct an in-depth review of the course concepts regarding your personal calling, social intelligence, and brainstorm. You're gonna research critical elements and stuff like that. It's a nice little worksheet. You can you have an opportunity to kind of opine about some of the courses, what you think, and how you're going to, sort of navigate that whole thing. You're going to reflect upon your course of study at Full Sail and complete the Mastery Journal framework, blah, blah, blah. So it's pretty well documented there. I think many of you will be able to go through that. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on that. So use your networking skill to identify 3 possible mentors and 3 possible internship apprentices. One of the things I would really stress upon you, for those of you who are making significant changes, right? So if you're coming from, let's say, history or something like that, and you are now embarking on, let's say, Masters of Internet Marketing, you may not be as versed in it as some others who've been doing it. So this is a real opportunity for you to kind of net it out, because there's the phase after the degree is finding that suitable employment, right? So if you've got those things kind of nailed down, even if it's not, 100% on target, it's a good start, right? And then you can go from there. So it's a great way to start. One of the things I used to do when I was working in corporate America, my resume always reflected the job that I wanted next. Yeah, it had the historical stuff, but I was always looking for the things. I remember when I was a director, I used to look at the things all the vice presidents and presidents used to put on their resume in terms of goals and accomplishment. And I used to fashion those kind of words into what it is I wanted and put it there. So I was always projecting, not where I am, but where I wanted to be, okay? So that will help you with that as you get more and more of those things kind of nailed down, and that stuff will help you. The assignment goal, the PLN journal assignment. So last week you used the Adobe Spark. This week you're gonna go a little bit deeper and start to talk about your personal learning network. And that again will allow you to organize articles, just stuff that you want to read. One of the things I tell a lot of students in our program is know your industry. Know what's going on, know the trends, knows who's shaking stuff up, who's making stuff happen. Because it's important, because if a new emerging technology is coming and you don't know it, you may find, again, if you want to rise, all the little tricks that you may know, I always say it's another arrow to put in your quiver. If you know that, and again, when you're coming up, you're always interviewing, you could bring that to the fore in your current position, or you could talk about it to your next assignment. Let me give you an example. of that in real life. I was working for a small consulting company in 1998, right? So I left the big phone company, took on my stock options and said, when we sold it to Southwestern Bell, which is now called AT&T, when we sold the thing, I said, hey, cash me out. I got another job. And I went to this other company, right? And then I went on a trade show. And during the trade show, I happened to bump into this guy and, we got to talking and stuff like that. And he says, hey, what do you really want to do? I said, the truth, just two guys talking. And I said, yeah. He says, yeah, what would you really want? I said, look, my whole gig is I really want to start my own consulting company. I said, I love consulting. This is what I want to do. I'm trying to get enough knowledge about the consulting business so I can start my own consulting firm. We had such a great conversation. He gave me his card. He said, let's stay in touch. He lived in St. Louis, Missouri. A couple of weeks later, guess what? I get a phone call from the partner of Ernst & Young in the St. Louis, Missouri office. Hey, Michael. Yeah. My second lieutenant told me that he had a conversation with you and he was just blown away by your enthusiasm and you'll get up and go and blah, blah, blah. Listen, I want to know if you're interested in coming and join my team. I was like, really? He says, yeah. He said, what do you think about moving to St. Louis? I said, oh, that's not going to happen. Right? That's not going to happen. He said, why not? I said, I just moved my wife from Chicago to Atlanta. And we went through a whole rigmarole. Why Atlanta? I wanted to move to Miami. I'm an island boy. I want to be where the island people are. And we did a pros and cons, and Miami lost to Atlanta, for some other reason, a big international airport, we can get out. As a consultant, those are important things, right? Because I'm on a plane every week, sometimes 2-3 times a week, right? So we did the pros and cons. So I told him, I said, that's not going to happen. He said, we got a nice package. And, I was like, look, no, that's not going to happen. He said, I'll tell you what, you want to stay in Atlanta? I said, I am staying in Atlanta. He says, let me make a couple of phone calls. I got some partner friends there. That's part of, there's got to be somebody there that I can have you report to, and you'll still report to me in thing, but you can work out of the Atlanta office. So anyway, we went through all of that, and next thing you know, I was leaving my small company and joining Ernst & Young in the Atlanta office with my boss being in St. Louis, right? But it all came down to just this conversation and about what I wanted to do. But implicit in that I didn't talk about was the fact that some of the stuff we talked about our field, business intelligence, I was so up on that stuff that this guy was like, man, we can use this guy on our team, because they were trying to figure it out, right? But I knew a lot. I knew enough to talk about it, right? So that's what I really want you to know. Be up on your stuff, okay? Understand where your market's going, who are and some industries going to be different. It's going to be difficult, right? And I know music is going to be different, and film is going to be different, and internet marketing and all the different components, finance, healthcare and stuff. But just be up on your craft, okay? Anything that's new, that's coming, I always want to be ahead, right? So you can always, because anytime you talk as a consultant, here's the deal. As a consultant, people pay you for information, right? They want to know, how can you help us? So when I go into those meetings, I am letting them know, this is what I bring, right? If you've got this issue, let me tell you how I deal with that over here when I work with this company that's in the same vertical as you, right? And their eyes light up because you start talking about the stuff that they want to hear, right? So that comes from being on top of your stuff, okay? Be sharp. Okay, LinkedIn, you're going to establish a LinkedIn account. If you haven't already, most people are already there with this. So I think many of you are just going to blow through that. How are we doing for time? Oh man, I'm doing great. I'm moving a little fast today. That's because I'm hyped, right? I had 2 cups of coffee since 3 o'clock this morning, so I'm hyped up. Okay, so you're gonna do the LinkedIn stuff. That should be piece of cake. I did get a question. Somebody asked me, because in Adobe, you don't, unlike the other platforms we used to work with, there's a little button there, that plus button, and that kind of establishes sort of a pseudo page, but you can have it scroll down, one after the other. not a big deal. Okay. We just want you to just put everything there so that when you start sharing all this good stuff that you're creating, other people, you know, that you might want to share it with can go on and say, hey, you know, this is some good heady stuff. Okay. So really get this. Let me just say something a little bit about LinkedIn, right? A lot of people don't think LinkedIn is a big deal. LinkedIn is very much a big deal, and you need to be on it. You need to be associated with a lot of these, affiliated with a lot of these other groups. Let me, again, I'll give you a little example. I had a LinkedIn account for a long time and never did anything with it, right? And then in 2008, one of my friends told me, said, hey, you know, I got a couple of opportunities down in the Caribbean. You know, do you want to go down and interview for them? I said, do I? I said, I'm there. So here I am flying into, you know, my old country. You know, I haven't been, I was born there. I left there at 12 years of age, and here I am going back as this grown man. And, you know, and one of the things I knew that LinkedIn helped me with, a couple of my friends that went to business school, we didn't go to the same school, but a couple of my friends went to Harvard. And they, during their career, one of them went back to Trinidad, and he used to work for McKinsey. And he was now president and CEO of the largest conglomerate in the Caribbean. And so I was like, oh, okay, I need to give him a call, right? So I logged on to LinkedIn, put his name in there, and found him and found the number. And I sent him an email, told him, said, listen, I'm coming through, you know, blah, 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 blah. You know, it took about a week because, you know, he's big shot now, you know. And he was like, no problem. He says, listen, Michael, here's my personal stuff. When you land in country, you know, give me a call. And we did. We hooked up, went to dinner a couple of times. I mean, this is a guy that I used to party with in Miami, right? And here we are. And he's telling me about what's going on in the country and the job that I'm going to be interviewing for, you know, who are the key decision makers and stuff like that. This was a good time. But I would not have been able to hook up with him if I didn't have access to LinkedIn, because he was on LinkedIn. And so I want you to know it does pay off. And lots of people have communicated with me. We have a guy in one of our departments now. He found me on LinkedIn, and he thought that I worked at Full Sail, and he sent me an email, and he wanted to hook up and ask questions and stuff like that. And sure enough, a year or two later, I saw him. We hired him at Full Sail. So LinkedIn is very, very important. Stay up to date with it. Stay active. I don't do a whole lot in LinkedIn anymore because I'm on the back nine of my career, and I'm really not interested in anybody calling me to do anything anymore. So, you know, but that's because I am where I'm at in my career, in my journey. So I'm trying to, the Ferris wheel has gone round and round, and I'm hoping it stops real soon so I can get off and go back to that little island we talked about. Okay. I'm going to open it up for questions. Where is this thing here?
Yes, I have questions.
Yes, hold on. Hold on. Let me make sure everybody is unmuted here. Okay, so let me unmute everyone. Mute all. No, I want to unmute. Hold on. Okay, all right. Ask to unmute. Why is it not just giving me something? Hold on, mute everyone. All right, all the participants to unmute themselves. Okay, why don't you go ahead to unmute yourselves?
Yep, already done that.
Okay, so everybody else can do that. Okay, all right, shoot.
Okay, my name is Nikisha Sanders, and I put something in the chat section. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but I have to leave class early. I've already informed my course director, Vicki Gilman. So with that being said, I would greatly appreciate it if you could please email me a copy of the recording for this class.
Oh, Vicky's going to get, Nikisha, Vicky's going to get a copy of it, and she'll post it to the LMS, and or however she distributes it to her class. So yes.
Okay, and then I have another question too. Is there any way that you could quickly, I guess, skim through the other slides prior to the information on the assignments so I can take a quick screenshot with my my cell phone, because I'm a visual learner.
Okay.
And that would help if you could, please.
Okay. All right. You discuss which one? The assignment?
So, yeah, so it would be from slides 1 through 12, please. That's what I missed.
Okay. So the early part?
Yes, please.
Why don't I just send you a copy of this presentation, of my presentation?
Oh, cool. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. So that way, you know, we're not wasting a lot of time here with this. Okay. So Nikisha.
Yes.
What's your last name? Just tell me your last name.
It is Sanders, Sanders.
Okay. All right. I remember that. That's a unique name. Nikisha Sanders. I'll find you in the system. If for some reason I get caught up doing some other stuff, just shoot me an email and I'll attach it and send it back to you. Okay.
Okay. Now your email would be your
MJ Taylor. I'm the only one. MJ Taylor. You would not find another good looking MJ Taylor if you tried. Ask Aaron. I shouldn't do that, Aaron. Okay, what else, Nikisha? You on?
Yes, that is great. All right. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome.
Okay.
All right. Who else? Who's next? No questions?
Hey, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to address a good point that you made in your lecture on action-centered leadership.
Okay. Hey, David.
Hey, David Lockett. Hey, excellent points. You know, when I think about action leadership, you know, I've had leaders throughout my career in education that have you know, focused on, you know, what your specific strength or skill is.
Right.
And when you look at that, you know, you add all those different pieces and you have one successful organization because you have that leader that's, you know, bolstering, you know, each individual success of each individual. So great points on action-centered leadership.
Oh, well, fantastic. Thank you. You know, listen, I've had a little bit of opportunity to kind of play around with some of this stuff, you know, there's a lot of times where I was in leadership positions where I didn't want to be, right? and sometimes when you learn the most, right? But, you know, it's funny. I just posted my age, so I guess I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys, you know, I am 58 years of age, right? Now, the reason why that's important, I'm just trying to share with you that I've been around the horn a little bit, right? I've done some things. And so I've had an opportunity to see, like I said, this is the back nine of my career, right? I'm trying to wind stuff down, okay? And I would wind it down a lot quicker if that boy that I talked about had signed that NFL contract at the first round pick. I would have been gone, right? So, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. And but I love what I do. I really do. I really enjoy this. I keep telling my boss, you know, when I hit 62, which is in 4 years, I said, you know, it might be time for me to exit stage right. And she's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. I need 10 more years. I was like, I hope I can live 10 more years. But there's nothing is guaranteed, nothing is promised. But I've had an opportunity to do some things. I've been beat up. I've been kicked. But you know, like the great poet Maya Angelou said, I rise. I continue to rise. And that's because I got no quit in me, right? And so as you go through your career, you're going to be challenged, right? You're going to be put in situations, and you have got to be able to dig deep down inside and find that inner strength, and that whatever it is that's going to keep you going on, right? Tell you a quick story, right? You guys got time?
Sure.
Okay. Well, that didn't sound very convincing, yeah, for sure. You know, it's you know, if you stop talking, I can go have lunch, right? So,
We got time.
we do have
Go
time.
for it, Professor. We good. Go for it.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I've already eaten.
Nicole told me what I needed to hear. So normally every year I talk to the graduating class in entertainment business, right? And I always tell this little story, right? I am big in National Geographic. And I don't know what day it was, but I was watching National Geographic, and I was watching a story by a couple, the Joubert family. They spent their whole life in, I don't know which park it was, but it's a reserve where all the wild animals. And one night, and they were narrating it, and they said this particular night they did not. What happened that the camera caught, they did not anticipate this. But as I watched that story, I saw something. It was communicating something different to me. So here's what's going on. You know, in the Serengeti, during certain times of the year, it gets very dry, right? All the water holes starts to dry up, right? But there was one particular water hole that was still functioning, you know? And there was a huge lion pride that was at this watering hole. This was their thing, right? But they also, you know, lions are pretty sophisticated. You know, they know what they're doing, right? This pride had 3 males, and they were probably brothers. And there was about 16 or 17 of them total. Lion prides are not always this big, right? It's normally 6 or 7 or 8, right? There's a 16, 17 of them, right? So that's their thing. So they're lounging, and here comes this young adult elephant, right? He's coming to get his drink on. Darkness had just fallen, right? So he comes in, and he goes and he's drinking, and then he pops his head up, and he's like, oh my goodness. It's a lion pride here, and they're standing there looking at him, you know, like we look at Popeye's chicken, right? We're about to eat, right? And they jumped all over this young lion, this young elephant. Now again, he was probably a young adult male, right? So he didn't have no big tusk or nothing like that. But anyways, they jumped all over him. And you know, the males are heavy, right? They can be as much as 200, 300 pounds, right? So they jumped all over him, right? And the elephant knew, right? Now, remember, the Joubert family's catching all this on tape, right? And so I'm watching it. So they jumped all over him, right? And the elephant knew, and the lions knew, what they're trying to do is get him off of his hind legs, right? If they get him down and they get to the belly, the underbelly, that's where it's soft. They can start to essentially eat him alive, right? Because of the exterior is tough. So as you're watching it, you could see the first 2 legs to buckle was the back leg, right? So now he's down on his knees, right? And boy, he's like, I don't want to go down. Then a few minutes later, they're all on top of him, and the front legs go down. Now he got trouble, because now they're going to get to that underbelly, and then he's actually going to eat him alive, right? And the Jouberts, like good narrators, they stopped it. They says, time to raise some money. I was like, well, what are you doing? Right? But here's the moral to, here's what happened. That elephant made up his mind when those 2 front legs went down, and he knew that this was insurmountable odds. He knew he had 2 choices. He could just go ahead and lay down and be eaten, or he could find some kind of inner strength or something and figure out how to turn this thing around. And as I was watching it, the elephant decided, with them hanging all over him, that tonight was not the night that he was going to die. He was not going to die at that water hole, not tonight. And after a couple of minutes, you see he was able to fight and get back up on the front legs. So I'm getting excited, right? And then all of a sudden, like, come on, get up. And he was able to get up on the back legs, and he tossed those lions and lioness around, and he was able to run out of there. And I felt so wonderful because he didn't get eaten that night. What I got out of that story is this. We have all faced at some time in our life insurmountable odds. Whether it's a family issue, whether it's a health issue, whether it's an issue in your course, whether it's an issue with your job, where you just didn't think that you can go on. This was weighing on you, but you found a way. You found that inner strength. You mustered it to get up, to stand up, and to fight. I know I've had times like that. I've had times like that in college, where in my thermodynamics class as a sophomore, I got 3 exams, final, homework, and every time I take an exam, I get a 67. That's a D. And the professor's like, well, Mr. Taylor, I don't know. You do all the homework, you do. I don't know what to tell you. And I was ready to quit. I told the professor, all right, I'll just take a W. But I kept going to class. And then the day that he was supposed to give me the W, I said, you know what? I'm going down with all guns blazing. I said, if I'm going to fail, you got to fail me. And I went, MIT was across the street from where I went to school, well, a little bit down the street. And they had the only 24-hour library. I lived in that place for the next 2 weeks, reviewing every problem. Why was I not able to perform? And I figured it out. You didn't have your story right. You were trying to attack every problem. You had no approach. And I worked every problem with my new approach. I got the second highest grade on the final exam. The professor saw me next semester. He said, boy, that was a good exam. I said, I know, right? You got to fight if you want something. Ain't nobody going to give it to you. Now, he should have given me an A in the course, but he didn't. He said, I got to take everything into totality. But as far as I was concerned, that 89, which is the second highest grade in the class on the final, that's going to be graded on a curve, I perform as well as all my buddies who were going in with 99s and 98s and 97. They couldn't tell me nothing. Matter of fact, when we walked out the exam, I was giving them answers. They were like, well, what'd you do for this problem? You know how engineers do when they talk to each other at the end of the exam. How'd you do this problem? What did you get? They weren't talking. They were scratching their head like, oh, man, I messed up. That's that elephant story. You got to be able to rise up when you face insurmountable odds. And again, we have people, you know what it is when you get a diagnosis, if you have breast cancer or prostate cancer or whatever, what you going to do? You going to fight? You better, if you want to live, if it's important to you, if you want to walk your daughter or see your grandkids or whatever, find that internal strength and get on your knees and make it happen. That's what I saw when I saw that story about the elephant. So I took and internalized it and made it into something that I can relate to. Insurmountable odds. All right. Any other questions?
I have one quick question. I saw on the Mastery Journal update, there's kind of 3 parts to it, and one of them was a reflection on the trade magazine.
Right.
Is the trade magazine one of the things that's on the Full Sail resources where we click on like each of our individual design programs?
No. Okay. But here's what I want you to do. Here's what I've asked this question a number of times, and I've yet to get an answer that makes me feel warm and fuzzy. So when you are doing the references and looking for those trade regs, right? I just do a reflection on that. So pick one that resonates with you and write about that. It's like a reflection.
So like from reflect on like the ones that we're doing like on the brainstorming and research thing and put that in our part?
Yes, you could do it there. Right?
Okay, cool.
So that nobody has been able to tell me anything better than that. So, because I asked the question and I was like, okay, so I'm just going to interpret it at that. And that's what I've been telling my students.
Okay, cool.
And that's what I'm willing to tell you guys. All right.
Thank you.
What's next? This is good. This means we're going to leave early. Okay. Aaron, you ain't got nothing? Okay. All right. All right. We going once. We going twice. We out of here. Have a blessed rest of your day. I enjoyed having you. Have a good weekend.
A meeting. Thank you, sir.
You all are very welcome. It's a good looking crew. I like this crew. All right. You all take care. This is Professor Taylor, and I'm out.
All right.
All right. Now, where do I turn it off?
Click the leave button.
Leave.
Yeah. No, hey, believe it or not, I don't have a leave button in front of me. That's the problem.
You're the host.
You probably have to stop sharing. And it should say end meeting for all or something. End meeting for all.
I know.
Yeah.
I know you had to jump in here.
Don't even. Don't. You still recording? You still
Pay for
recording?
it.
Yes, I am. Yes, I
Okay.
am.
Yes.
I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna leave you with that.
Yeah,
With the final
for
word, sir.
posterity's sake. For posterity's sake.
Can't be losing those GPS points, whatever those are.
No, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. I know. You think I'm gonna take points away from you? You call me. I'll be calling the headmaster's office. I did that. You know.
What? Stop the madness. Stop
right.
the madness.
I know. Y'all take care. I'm gonna hit the end button here. All right.
Have
Y'all
a
be
good day, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Mr. Taylor, can I call you after?
Yes. Who's this? Is it Janelle?
Yes.
Okay. I've got two people that want to assign a new host. No. Assign and leave. No. Okay. Go ahead, Janelle. Hold on. Let me see if nobody else is on. Tia, are you there? Hold on. Let me unmute. Hold on. I have to unmute. Hold on. Okay. Tia May, are you there? Can you unmute yourself? Hold on. It doesn't allow me to unmute her. Has to unmute. Okay. All right. I can't seem to do anything. Hold on. Privately type TMA. Hold on.
Hello.
Okay. Is that you still, Janelle?
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. TMA is still on, and you know, so okay. So I can't seem to be able to unmute her to talk to her. So
Okay.
I don't know. Hold on a second. Let me see here. Okay. Ask to unmute. I'm trying to unmute her so that you know, she might have walked away from her computer.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yes, Janelle.
Yes, I'm sorry. So I just wanted to reach out to you because I reached out to my liaison team to explain to them that right now I'm going through a move that has taken a lot of my time, and the homework assignments, I'm trying to complete them. I don't want you to think that I'm not. Seeing my grade is like depressing me even more, but I'm trying to give myself time to just get it done. So my supervisor is giving me leave from work